Today I want to share with you a very simple recipe that you can follow if your dog is suffering from a bit of an icky tummy. So in the last 48 hours, my dog must have eaten something because his stools have been a bit runny and he hasn't been feeling himself all that much. And every time this thing sort of happens and I identify it isn't something serious where I need to take him to the vet, I follow this very simple recipe to get him up to speed and to get him up to his usual self. Now, there's a couple things that I want you to know, and there's a couple things that I think you should really pay attention to. And that is that a lot of the recipes you see out there are not biologically appropriate, they are not very good, and they just try to tell you something and try to get you to make something that isn't really all that good for your dog, whether your dog is going through a rough time or not. So in this video we are going to be dissecting what I exactly did and how I did it and how you can also help your pup get back to their usual self. Now, there's a couple ingredients that I really want you to stay away from anytime your dog has a bit of an icky tummy. The first one is any sort of grain. If you give your dog any grains, those will be a bit inflammatory. So if you give your dog something like rice or brown rice, for example, those ingredients will be inflammatory and not something you want to be giving your dog. Rice is not an ingredient I like for dogs overall in their regular life, let alone when they are feeling sick. So I would steer away from anything that's a high glycemic inflammatory ingredient. Now, this simple recipe you can make, and you can make it anywhere really. The first ingredient of the recipe is chicken breast, and chicken breast is probably the leanest part of the chicken. It's quite nutritious and it's full of vitamins and minerals. And the way I wanted to present this chicken to my dog was not raw. Even if I am a very big fan of raw dog feeding, on this occasion I boiled the chicken breast. And by part boiling the chicken, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help my dog digesting the whole thing first, and I'm removing a couple extra steps in my dog's stomach in order to break down the chicken. So by already trying to process somehow gently boiling the chicken breast, that can be guaranteed to go down a bit better than raw chicken breast. But in theory, nothing should stop you from feeding your dog raw chicken breast. It's amazing, it's very nutritious, and it's very biologically appropriate. The second ingredient was pumpkin, and I made this into a puree. Now, pumpkin is a wonderful source of vitamins and minerals and is a very, very good source of fiber. What your dog sometimes needs whenever they are having a bit of a bad stomach is some sort of fiber, and you can choose fiber in one of these two forms. One is soluble and one will be insoluble. Soluble fiber gets absorbed by the body, whereas insoluble fiber simply passes through your dog undigested. A good form of soluble fiber would be pumpkin, but that can also be insoluble fiber because you might even see some of that pumpkin coming out of the other end. So it's a wonderful source of fiber, and in addition to the chicken, creates the yin and the yang sort of combination, and I do really like it as a soothing mechanism for your dog's tummy. The third thing I added was a bit of tree bark powder, and tree bark powder creates a linen around the stomach that protects the stomach and is extremely beneficial for both humans and dogs. It's something I take sometimes if I have a bit of an indigestion problem, and it's something you can give your dog. I will leave a link down in the description so you can check it out. It's completely natural, it's completely organic, and it's a wonderful addition and something to always have in your cupboard. especially if your dog has recurrent gut issues. So now that we have our 3 ingredients, our boiled chicken, our pumpkin puree, and our 3 bags powder, I sort of mixed everything in because my dog isn't very keen on any powders or any supplements that are sprinkled on top of his food. So I created a bit of a mush and it went down really well. I also want to touch upon quantities because a lot of people get this wrong. If your dog has a bit of an icky tummy, the worst thing you can do is serve your dog a very big portion of food. You need to be sensible and you need to be monitoring the situation very carefully. So with this recipe, it was about 3 parts chicken to 1 part pumpkin and a little tablespoon of 3 bags powder. I didn't overdo the pumpkin because I don't think pumpkin should be a high proportion of your dog's diet. I think that plain boiled chicken should comprise the highest proportion of your dog's diet whenever they are sick. Also, whitefish could work here because again, it's very nutritious. It'll be full of omega-3s, so you can swap chicken for whitefish. I do especially like those 2 meats because they are highly digestible. They are very easy for your dog to digest, and you can try this for yourself. Fish or chicken will be a lot easier to digest than say beef or lamb. So I do want to stay with those white meats because they're a bit easier and gentler on the stomach. Another common question is, how long should my dog be on this diet? How long should my dog be on this healing diet? Well, I wouldn't keep my dog for longer than maybe 72 hours and something like this. After 72 hours, I would expect my dog to be fully healed and back up to his usual self. And if there's something wrong or there's something off along the way, I am obviously going to take my dog to the vet for them to conduct a full assessment and see what's going on with him. But for about 72 hours, I reckon you can give him a bland diet and see how things go. Always remember that anything inflammatory will be detrimental to your dog's health, and whenever they are having a bit of an icky stomach, the worst thing you can do is exacerbate the problem and make the stomach work extra hard. So it's maybe a very good idea to now check everything you give your dog, food and treats wise, and on the back of every single thing there cannot be anything inflammatory. If you see meat and animal derivatives, if you see sugar, caramel, wheat, corn, barley, and any of these things, it's very important for you to stop doing that and to stop making your dog's gut getting inflamed and work extra hard every time your dog eats, because eating that twice a day for long periods of time cannot be very good for them. Now, please let me know if that helps. Please let me know if that worked for you as good as it works for me, and I will definitely see you in the next one.